Hitler is not dead. Plaszow, July 20th, through Auschwitz, August 8th, 1944. A shocking sight on the square. The flag with the brilliant red swastika is flying at half-mast. At Zalapal, a whisper reverberates through the ranks. Hitler is dead. More rumors. Russian troops are rapidly advancing. Unrest in Berlin. Unrest in German ranks on all fronts. Things are converging toward the end. On a scorching August morning, trucks pull into the camp square and we are loaded onto them. The endless caravan of trucks pulls out of the square, out of the camp. The entire camp is evacuated. The trucks bounce through winding roads among the familiar hills. Where are we going? The train station of Krakow comes into view. It too is familiar. We saw this train station 7.5 weeks ago when we arrived. Only 7.5 weeks ago, yet long, long ago. Before I became part of death and blood and naked horror. Before I experienced decimation, tasted death itself. It was before I saw people tortured and shot. It was before I knew that there were no limits to human cruelty. In these 7.5 weeks, I have changed. I have grown into a concentration camp inmate. I have learned to live with fear and hunger and abuse. I have learned to swallow dirt and live worms. I have learned to endure cold, pain, and long hours of hard physical labor. I have learned to live with waning hope and cling to reality born of pretenses. I have learned to wait and wait and wait. I have become very thin and very tall. My neck is long. My hair has grown and now it stands erect, about 1 inch high, like a crown of yellow bristles above my head. Other girls have boyish hairdos. Some have curls framing their faces, but I have a crown of thorns like a porcupine. My cheekbones protrude so sharply that sun blisters have formed on each because of their extreme exposure to the sun. Sun blisters have blown my lips up like those of a clown. The sun is blazing as we inundate the train station, a weary human overlay covering the platform and the field far beyond. Hours pass under the glaring sun. At long last, the loading into wagons begins. 100 to a wagon, the capo snarls. 100? My God, there will be no room even to sit. I hope at least one of us will get sitting space. Mommy is fading, overcome by heat. She must have space to sit. We are shoved and pushed into the wagons. Mommy gets a spot near the wall and I sit on her legs. But soon she is compelled to draw up her legs tightly about her as more and more people are pressed into the car and complain that she is taking up too much room with her legs partially spread out. She starts to explain that I am sitting on her legs, saving space. She is kicked and told to draw up her legs. I am unable to stay on my feet. I am pushed and shoved and keep falling on top of others sitting. Mommy screams, "Leave her alone!" She tries to get up and give me her place, but as she scrambles to her feet, others press into her place and she tumbles. More and more people are pressed into the wagon. The heat and stench keep increasing. Air is steadily drained from the wagon. Breathing is becoming difficult. The train stands for hours. More trucks arrive. Dogs bark, shouts, and more shouts. Then we hear a capo, 30 more in every wagon. 30 more? That's impossible. We are on the verge of passing out. The crowding, the heat, and the lack of air are beyond endurance. 30 more and we'll suffocate. The inmates from Poland, the old-timers, assure us that it is possible. There have been precedents, incidents in which more than half of the transport suffocated before they arrived at their destination. Soon we discover that it is possible to absorb 30 more. Noise subsides as the sweating bodies are pressed closer together. Breathing is difficult. No one speaks. The lack of air imposes its own dominion. You simply comply. Sit or stand with your mouth open, eyes half closed. Do not breathe, but draw in air in short gasps. Do not sit or stand upright, but lean against the body next to you. Let your body go limp. Do not think. Let your mind go limp. Mommy is sweating profusely. She is unable to wipe her brow. Someone is sitting on her shoulder. I keep mopping her face with the hem of my uniform. She closes her eyes. She falls asleep, I think. But then with alarm, I realize she has fainted. What should I do? Many others faint. They are white with their eyes closed and their mouths wide open. They are piled one on top of the other in silent heaps. The woman Mommy is lying on has fainted also, patiently tolerating Mommy's inert body on top of her. Earlier, she grumbled every time Mommy moved, poking her with a knee or elbow. Now both are still. Their breathing is belabored, plaintive. As the evening bears down, the heat grows more oppressive. Loud wheezing and hoarse moaning break the density of the darkness. By now, I am lying drenched in sweat on a pile of bodies. Someone is lying on top of me, lifeless, wet, and heavy. I cannot move. I do not know where Mommy is. She must be nearby, perhaps in the same pile. I do not know. Sometime during the night, the train starts to move. The rattling of the rapidly moving train drowns out the sound of moaning, and I feel better. The movement of the train, the sensation of going ahead, inspires confidence. There is life in movement, hope. Standing still is terrifying. The train moves all night and all day. The second night, we reach an area where the air is somewhat cooler. We must be traveling north. Breathing is somewhat easier. The moving train sucks in air through cracks in the wagon wall, and most people revive. Mommy also revives. She insists that I sit in her place while she stands up, but she's unable to. I stand and crouch alternately throughout the day and the night that follow. On the morning of the third day, the train comes to a halt. The doors open and chill air rushes into the wagon. Dazed by the light and air, we scramble slowly to our feet. Some are unable to get up. I have to pull Mommy to her feet. Men in striped uniforms drag us like rag dolls off the train. For over 2 days, we've had no body space, no food, no water to drink, and very little air to breathe. Our limbs are cramped, our lungs and brains are compressed. The freedom of space and movement is now overwhelming. As I stagger out of the wagon, my glance falls upon the sign of the station. Auschwitz. So Hitler is not dead, after all.